Humiliation can feel like the end, a deep cut that leaves a scar. But for Chima Okoro, humiliation became the beginning of a journey that would transform not just his life, but an entire nation. This is the story of a man from the humble village of Njaba, who, despite being brought to his knees, rose to unimaginable heights, and made the world take notice. Njaba, nestled in the heart of Nigeria, was a small village with big dreams but few resources. The air smelled of fresh rain on red soil, and the days were marked by the sounds of children playing in the fields and the clinking of tools in Chima's father's workshop. The Okoro family didn't have much in the way of material wealth, but they were rich in resilience, love, and hope. Chima's father, a skilled blacksmith, would often say, "Son, it's not what you start with, it's what you create with your hands that matters." Those words stayed with Chima, inspiring him to dream of a life beyond the village. His mother, a nurturing woman with a strong will, always encouraged him, saying, "Chima, no matter where you go, never let anyone make you feel small. Your worth is not up for debate." Chima's childhood was a blend of hard work and big dreams. He helped his father in the workshop, learning to mold raw materials into tools and art. He dreamed of moving to a city where his skills could shine, where he could provide for his family and show the world the brilliance that Njaba could produce. After years of saving and planning, Chima finally said goodbye to his family and boarded a bus to Ridgeville, a town he had heard was filled with opportunity. Ridgeville was everything Chima had imagined: bright, bustling, and filled with towering buildings that seemed to touch the clouds. But what he hadn't expected was the cold, cutting stares that followed him everywhere he went. Ridgeville was a town with wealth, yes, but it was also a town steeped in unspoken rules of exclusion, especially for people who looked like Chima. Everywhere he turned, doors were closed in his face. Shopkeepers avoided eye contact, job interviews ended abruptly, and landlords refused to rent to him, citing flimsy excuses. It wasn't just rejection, it was a loud, unspoken message: "You don't belong here." But Chima, fueled by the lessons of Njaba, refused to give up. "I'll make them see my worth," he told himself. He believed that his determination and skills would eventually win them over. One fateful afternoon, after yet another unsuccessful job interview, Chima walked into a popular diner. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and sizzling bacon made his stomach growl. All he wanted was a simple meal. But as he stepped inside, the room fell silent. Every pair of eyes turned toward him, cold and unwelcoming. The waitress behind the counter folded her arms, her lips pursed. "We don't serve people like you here," she said flatly. Chima's heart sank. "I'm just here for food," he said softly, hoping to reason with her. Her voice grew louder. "I said, we don't serve your kind. Get out." The room erupted in murmurs. Some customers laughed, others avoided his gaze. Chima, his face burning with shame, turned and walked out. Outside, he sat on the curb, tears streaming down his face. He had never felt so small, so powerless. For hours, he sat there, replaying the moment in his mind. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, something within him shifted. The humiliation turned into a quiet, simmering rage, not the kind that destroys, but the kind that fuels. Chima made a decision: if they don't want me here, I'll make sure they remember me. Back in his tiny apartment, Chima stared at the few belongings he had brought from Njaba. Among them were his father's tools, a hammer, and a chisel. Memories of working alongside his father flooded his mind, and with them came an idea: bold, ambitious, and impossible to ignore. Chima would build a monument. It would be a towering symbol of resilience, strength, and defiance. He wanted to create something so powerful that Ridgeville, and the world, would have no choice but to take notice. For weeks, Chima worked tirelessly. He scavenged scrap metal from junkyards, collected discarded wood, and spent sleepless nights sketching designs. His neighbors mocked him, calling him the crazy African, but Chima ignored them. Every weld, every cut, every stroke of his hammer was a step closer to his vision, a giant black fist, reaching defiantly toward the sky. Before we continue, let me ask you something: where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below. I'd love to see how far this story travels. It's amazing to think about how stories of resilience like Chima's can inspire people around the world. Now, back to his journey. One quiet Sunday night, Chima transported the massive sculpture to Ridgeville's town square. With nothing but determination and a borrowed truck, he installed the monument under the cover of darkness. By dawn, the town woke to find a towering black fist standing boldly in the heart of Ridgeville. The reaction was electric. Some townspeople were outraged, calling it an eyesore. Others were moved, seeing it as a bold statement of courage. News outlets swarmed the town, broadcasting images of the sculpture to the entire country. Activists praised Chima's bravery, while artists admired his skill. Chima's name spread like wildfire. His story resonated with millions, sparking conversations about racism, resilience, and the power of standing tall in the face of injustice. The monument's impact didn't stop in Ridgeville. Chima's work caught the attention of art collectors, philanthropists, and government officials. Contracts poured in from across the country, offering Chima opportunities he had never imagined. The very people who had once humiliated him now sought his expertise. The mayor of Ridgeville, desperate to repair the town's image, offered Chima a permanent contract to create public art. But Chima didn't forget his roots. He used his newfound wealth to establish the Njaba Art Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to supporting underprivileged artists. He built schools, funded workshops, and provided resources for aspiring creators from small communities like his own. Years later, Chima returned to Njaba, not as the boy who had left with dreams, but as a man who had achieved them. He built a beautiful home for his parents and brought his family out of poverty. The village that had once seemed so small now celebrated him as a hero whose courage had inspired millions. The day Chima returned to Njaba was one that would forever be etched in the village's history. The morning sun kissed the red earth as a convoy of cars, unlike anything the villagers had ever seen, rolled into town. Children ran alongside the vehicles, their laughter filling the air, while elders peeked from their windows, whispering, "Chima is back." For years, Chima had been the boy who left with nothing but dreams and determination. Now, he was a man whose name was known across the country, whose work was celebrated by millions, and whose success had inspired countless others. But despite all the fame and wealth, Chima's heart had never left Njaba. As the convoy came to a stop in front of his childhood home, Chima stepped out of the car. Dressed in a sharp suit, but with the same warm smile that everyone remembered, he immediately looked for his parents. His mother, standing at the doorway, was the first to embrace him. "My son," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You've come back to us." Tears streamed down her face as she held him tightly, her hands tracing his shoulders and face as if to ensure he was really there. His father, older now but still strong, stood behind her with pride gleaming in his eyes. "You've made us proud, Chima," his father said, his voice thick with emotion. "You've proven that even from the smallest places, greatness can rise." Chima knelt before them, taking their hands in his. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said. "Everything I've achieved started here, in this home, with your love and your lessons." Chima's return wasn't just a personal homecoming, it was a transformation for the entire village. Over the next few weeks, Chima worked tirelessly to give back to the place that had shaped him. The first thing he did was build a new house for his parents. It was a beautiful, modern structure with spacious rooms, running water, and solar panels, a far cry from the modest home they had lived in for decades. When the house was complete, the villagers gathered to celebrate. There was music, dancing, and endless plates of food as everyone shared in the joy of seeing one of their own succeed. Chima knew that education was the key to breaking the cycle of poverty. He funded the construction of a new school, complete with classrooms, a library, and even a computer lab. He named it the Okoro Academy of Creativity and Innovation, dedicated to nurturing young minds in Njaba and surrounding villages. On the day the school opened, Chima gave a heartfelt speech to the students. "When I was your age," he said, "I had dreams bigger than I could explain. This school is for you, so you can dream even bigger and have the tools to make those dreams a reality." Chima also established a workshop in Njaba where young men and women could learn craftsmanship, welding, carving, and metalwork, just as he had learned from his father. He hired skilled artisans to train them, ensuring that Njaba would become a hub of creativity and innovation. "The world needs to see what Njaba can do," he told the first group of apprentices. "Let your hands shape the future." Chima didn't just bring wealth to Njaba, he brought hope. The villagers, who had once seen success as something unattainable, now believed that they too could achieve greatness. Children who had grown up hearing stories of Chima's struggles and triumphs began to dream of their own futures beyond the village. Chima became a mentor to many. He often walked through the village, talking to young boys and girls, encouraging them to chase their dreams. "Your starting point doesn't define your destination," he would tell them. "I started here, just like you. And look where I am now." To honor Chima's achievements, the village elders organized a grand celebration. The entire community came together in the town square, which Chima had helped renovate. Colorful decorations hung from every corner, and traditional drummers played lively rhythms as villagers danced and sang. During the ceremony, the village chief presented Chima with a handcrafted staff, a symbol of leadership and honor in their culture. Chima Okoro, the chief, said, "You have not only lifted yourself but also lifted our entire community. Today, we celebrate you as a son of Njaba who has brought light to our name." Chima, deeply moved, held the staff high. "This village gave me my roots," he said. "No matter how far I go, Njaba will always be my home." Chima's impact on Njaba went far beyond the material. He had inspired a shift in mindset, a belief that success was not reserved for those in big cities or wealthy families. His journey proved that even from the smallest places, with determination and hard work, greatness could rise. The workshop and school brought jobs and opportunities to the village. Artisans from Njaba began selling their creations in markets across the country, earning recognition and income. The villagers took pride in their transformed community. They no longer saw themselves as a forgotten place but as a beacon of creativity and resilience. The children of Njaba, now armed with education and opportunities, grew up believing they could achieve anything. They saw Chima as proof that their dreams were valid. One evening, as the sun set over Njaba, Chima stood outside his parents' new home, watching children play in the street. His mother joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You've done so much for this village," she said. Chima smiled. "Njaba did so much for me. Everything I've built started here, with you, with Father, with this community." His mother nodded, her eyes glistening with pride. "You've brought light to this village, Chima. And that light will never fade." Chima's return to Njaba wasn't just a homecoming, it was a celebration of resilience, community, and the unbreakable spirit of a man who refused to let humiliation define him. His story reminds us all that no matter where we come from, our potential is limitless. If Chima's journey inspired you, let us know in the comments. And remember, your story can start anywhere, even in the smallest village, and still change the world.